Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. In the fast-moving world of YouTube reviews, this may seem like old news, but it's only been a couple of weeks. Sometimes you see reviews coming out the next day on sound quality comparisons and stuff, and I'm like, no, you need to give this a little more time to sink in. I did see one excellent review, and that was David Bianco's. I really didn't watch a lot of them, to be honest, but David does what he usually does and breaks down each component of the sound, and that's very, very helpful. So I enjoyed watching his take on it. I'm glad I waited though to do the video here because I had the opportunity to hear this in a different system than my own, and it was with 4 seasoned audiophiles. I'll tell you all about that special experience in just a moment. Before I get started, if you're new and haven't already, please consider subscribing. It's the best way to support the channel, and I'd really appreciate it, so thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so my memories of this stem mainly from not only hearing the album, but the visual and emotional wallop of the Fast Car video that was playing on MTV at the time. Anytime that came on, I stopped in my tracks and I watched with amazement at this new talent, Tracy Chapman, delivering this song with this emotional message and almost crying every time I saw it. It was so, so beautiful. And the record is wonderful all the way through. Just fantastic. I'm not going to go deeply into the lyrical content and stuff like that. We all know what the record is like and what it's about. I want to really just focus briefly on the sound experience between an original pressing from 1988 and the new Rhino reissue. The new Rhino looks like this. The original was digitally mixed and mastered, and so it has digital origins. However, this is taken from an analog tape made by Robert Ludwig back in the day, and Bernie Grundman cut from that. The jacket is really nice. A standard single pocket jacket. Pressing is a slab of vinyl, very clean, very beautiful, original labels, and the cardstock inner sleeve is much heavier than the original. So they really upgraded everything in the package. It was fabulous. The original pressing that I have was from my friend John. He sent it to me. He got it the year it came out. However, it's not the pressing that everyone talks about. So it may not be the first pressing. It doesn't have Masterdisk and it doesn't have DMM in the dead wax, which I thought was really unusual for a pressing from that year. When I looked at the dead wax on mine, it says STE 60774A, 1B, and then it has a G, an E, and an 11. On the second side, it has STE 60774B, 1D, then it has a G, an I, and over to the side it has RM. So no master disc, no DMM, which usually you will see in the dead wax if it's a DMM cut. So I really don't know what I have here. All I know is it's not a record club pressing and it's not from another year. So I'll leave that to you. The only RM I could think of is Ron McMaster, but I don't think he had anything to do with this. Be that as it may, it does sound very different from the reissue. I really spent time listening to side 1 mainly to do the back-to-back comparisons. And I've been playing the original pressing that I just described for the first week before the other one arrived. And I was enchanted with it. I think the sound is beautiful. Tracy's voice is kind of in a stark space. So you hear the reverb very clearly. However, it's EQ'd really well and it integrates with the music beautifully. The music and the instrumentation just pours out, like the bass and guitar hit really hard. The drums come out especially like if you, for instance, on the first track, talking about a revolution, the voice is clear and present, the guitar is perfect, the acoustic guitar, and then when the electric guitars and bass come in, and drums, it really hits you with a punch. And it's beautiful like that all the way through. Fast Car has very, very beautiful moments in it. And chord changes that just kind of strike an emotional chord in you, and make you feel what she's saying. What she's saying is very compelling. I'm thinking of the part where it's the chorus and she says, remember when we're driving in my car, speed so fast. When she says driving in my car and then goes to speed so fast, there's a deep chord change that just is it's so emotional. And all throughout this album, there are things happening like that that strike at you and pull you. And combined with the lyrical content, it just makes it so involving. I was completely immersed in the original pressing, had very little criticisms about the sound, just that little bit of notice of its digital origins and the way the voice is positioned, and that's fine with me. It's how I remember the recording sounding. The reissue, was different. It's very good. If you don't hear it in comparison to anything else, it's fine. But there are differences. And what I heard on my own system was the voice is a bit brought out. So the voice is a little bit more forward. It's EQ'd a little differently. So it seems to be a little more crisp, I guess, or more detailed. But it also enhances the reverb to the point where it's a little bit distracting to me. In the musical sections, the bass doesn't reach as low. It doesn't have that magical, warm quality that the original does. It's okay, but when you really listen to them back to back, it's really obvious that the musical integration, the flow, the intention is much better on the original pressing. On the reissue, it seems like a very good facsimile of the sound that they were able to achieve on the originals. A lot of talk has been made about the pre-echo, and it is something to talk about briefly. To me, it was not a big issue. I think, it's not there on the original pressing for sure. On the first side, that happens in the song Behind the Wall. So it's a cappella, and there's space between each verse, and you do hear the voice come in a low level. It's called groove echo or pre-echo. There's many theories why it happens, but I found that was the least of the reissue's problems. The problem with me is a less natural sound and a less compelling musical picture with less depth and warmth and ability to grab you emotionally. It's good, but it's not great. I called my friend Oswaldo and I said, hey, have you heard the new reissue? I know you were going to get it. He had heard a little bit of the original over at my house just a few days prior. And he said, yeah, I heard it. It sounds great. And I was like, do you have the original pressing? He said, not yet. I'm getting one. And I'll let you know what I think. And, the reissue does sound great in isolation. So I totally understand why he said that. And I told him, I think you might feel a little differently once you hear the original back to back. And he said, I'll let you know what I think. Well, we had an opportunity to have a visit with Harry Weisfeld of VPI. He invited us to come to a listening session with two of his friends. It was his friend's place. We were going to listen to his system, part of which is hand built. Not gonna give you all the details of the system here, but it was much more revealing than mine for sure. But the impressions were the same. We listened to a lot of great stuff. We listened to like 30 IPS, master tapes on a Studer deck. So many wonderful sounds. And I was very sure of the sound of that system by the time we got to Tracy Chapman. I said to Oswaldo, I said, did you bring those two pressings of Tracy Chapman? He said, yeah. So we put on the original, and he has the DMM cut. And we were all enjoying it so much. We were like, wow, I can't believe. First of all, we couldn't believe it was a digital recording. And second, we were marveling over everything about it. The voice, the sound, the impact. It was really above criticism. It was wonderful. Then they said, put on the, we listened to like 3 songs on the first side, put on the reissue. Within like, I'd say 30 seconds to a minute, we looked around at each other and we're like, no, this doesn't sound quite right. Sounds good, but it doesn't sound quite right when you hear it against the original. And I got to stress that. It sounds very good on its own. But we all noted a slightly more strangely EQ'd voice. So it gives it a little more presence, but there's also an enhancement of reverb. I don't know if you're just hearing it better or if something was added there, but it makes it a little bit disembodied from the rest of the music. That was the same impression that I got here at my house. And the music just didn't have the impact. It didn't leap out in the bass. It didn't hit as hard. The space wasn't rendered as well. And we all were like, no, it just doesn't have the magic of the original. There was always something to criticize on the reissue. Yeah, that was a very interesting experience. And it makes me want to search out an original pressing of this. Of course, I bought this. I'm going to enjoy it. And I think if you don't have an original pressing and you got this, you're certainly going to enjoy it. But be aware that there are better sounding editions out there. And until you hear them back to back, you won't know the difference. But this was really eye-opening for me. I am a little disappointed that the reissue didn't come out quite as good as we had hoped. But that's the way it is. Sometimes it's impossible to capture the magic of an original again. Many reissues do many things better, but in this case, it just, let me put it this way. The bottom line is, which one grabbed me emotionally? And it was always the original. The other reissue, I could appreciate many things about it, but it just didn't have the emotional wallop that the original does. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but to me, it seems like the integration of sound and music and voice is better. It's just better the way it hits you. So that is my thought on the Tracy Chapman reissue. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.